Good afternoon, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Arns, and happy Friday to you. I am going to show you a little something that we're going to do with lines. It's a landscape, and so you're going to see a horizon line, and you're going to see some grass and some sky and some other things. But we're going to make this look more like pop art, which means there's a lot of patterns scattered throughout our picture. So these are the things that you are going to need. You are going to need a black crayon or Sharpie marker, a something to color with. So you could use oil pastels, colored pencils, crayons, markers, whatever you like to color it with. So you can start with a pencil if you want to start with a pencil. I'm not going to do that because you're not going to be able to see it if I do that. So I'm going to start with a Sharpie marker. And you can just follow along and draw with me, and I'll try to go super slow. If you need to, you can stop the video for a couple minutes to catch up and then join us again. Okay, so here we go. You need your paper to be like this, okay, sideways. And you're going to want to put your name on your paper somewhere, probably on the back. And I'll just put Mrs. A. And you're going to put your class code in there. So if you're Mrs. Jarzembowski's class, you would put J-2. If you are Mrs. Dykstra's class, you would put D3. Whatever class you are, make sure you put your correct class code on the paper. Okay, so to start out, you're going to start with a horizon line, and you want to make this kind of in the middle of the paper, and it should not be straight. So make sort of a wavy line so it looks like a hilly landscape. And remember, the upper part of this is the sky, and the lower part of this is the ground. Remember, our horizon line is where the ground meets the sky. So that is your first line. Second line is going to be very similar to this, but it's going to look a little different because we are showing some hills in our landscape. And so we're kind of going to have two hilly lines right here. Now, this all is the ground or the grass, and this all is the sky. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is you can add a house or a little barn, and you can do this however you like. You could just start with something like a triangle line, or you could make it sort of a hip roof kind of barn. Whatever you like, make it look like a little barn. Maybe put a window in here and a door, whatever you like. Okay, I'm going to kind of bring this down a little bit. All right, so there is our barn. Next, you're going to add some trees. And think of this as like a tree right now that doesn't have any leaves on it. And so to start, we're going to do kind of like a zigzag like this. Okay, we're kind of cheating a little bit and doing it this way. And let's put another one over here someplace. It doesn't really matter where you go. These little zigzags can be crooked because tree branches are not straight. Okay, and then we're going to put one over here too, just to the outside of our thing. And to complete these trees, we're going to use our cloudy lines to come around the tree like this. You can make these as big or as little as you'd like. And this one's going to kind of go behind the house or the barn. And so I'm going to use this imaginary line here and skip over that and come back up and around that one. So there's our trees. So we have our first little bit of things in our drawing. Next, we're going to add some flowers and some grass to the bottom of our paper. And maybe you just want to put some clumps of grass in here, like so, like our zigzag lines. And then let's add some flowers, again, using our clouded or our bumpy line to put some flowers in here. Notice I made a circle first and then put a flower in. If you want to put some kind of a stem on there, you can put a little stem, that's fine. But you don't need to because this is pop art. So we're just going to make a few different kinds of flowers here. We're using zigzags quite a bit in this one. You can come right off the bottom of the page like this and just add a flower here. That makes it look interesting, and maybe one off the side of the page here. And just put some flowers, different flowers in here just to make your grass look interesting. And if you need some spots filled, put some of that zigzag grass in there. Okay. All right. Then when we get to this middle section right here, this is called the middle ground. So this is the foreground or the front. This is the middle ground and this is the background. When we get to this middle ground right here, we're going to start making this really look like pop art by putting some lines in here and maybe some stripes. You could put some zigzags in here. You could put some lightning shaped lines in here. Well, you could do a combination of both. You could make a pattern. So I'm going to just make a pattern, and I'm going to make some of these stripes, and I'm going quite far apart because I'm going to put something in between here. And so you're just making a pattern, and pop art just really makes these patterns all over the place. So this one, I'm going to have a zigzag stripe in between. Okay, so what that means is I'm just doing a zigzag line and then right next to it, another zigzag line. There we go. All right. And if I am going too fast for you, then please make sure that you pause the video for a moment and catch up. Okay, now this is about um, patterns and lots of patterns. And so I might put, and notice I'm just staying within my middle ground right now, right? Because we've already got these nice designs in our foreground here. So you could I maybe could have a couple more in here so it really looks like a pattern. And I probably should have another one of these because we're repeating, right? A pattern is something that repeats. So we want to make sure that we're repeating someplace. So this one repeats here, this one repeats here, then I have several of these that repeat, my grass repeats. So some good patterns in there. Next, you're going to want to make patterns in your trees and in your sky. So you might want to do just stripes in a tree, you might want to do polka dots. You could do things like hearts if you would like, some kind of pattern that repeats. And so I love polka dots, so I'm going to make polka dots in my tree. Now I could make this an apple tree if I want to, but because it's pop art, I'm not going to do that. But I am going to put polka dots on my tree. Notice how I'm even going to some of the edges here and they come off the edges. I'm going to do one with some nice stripes on it. So make sure you're using nice smooth lines as you go across the paper. You don't have to go back and forth like this with your Sharpie. Nice smooth lines, and again my imaginary line here. All right, so that looks pretty good, my imaginary line here. I'm not going to go outside of my tree, and I have one more tree here that I want to put something in, and so I think I might put some upside down triangles in that tree. And remember, these are all lines. We're kind of talking about lines right now. So we have lots of different kinds of lines here. There's many, many more lines. You could make a stripe with some curvy lines. And so I am going to then fill my sky with something as well. Now the sky is still going to be kind of like the same shades of maybe if you want blue or you want something purple in your background, but you need to have some type of pattern in your sky as well. And so in this case, in this one, I'm also going to do some polka dots. I think I'm going to make these a little bit different by putting another polka dot in the center, Just remember to make everything big enough that you can color it, because everything on this page is going to be colored. And so I think I'm going to put some polka dots in my sky. Now, this is not snow. Well, I suppose you could make it snow if you wanted to. You could put triangles in there, hearts in there. You could put maybe suns falling from the sky if you want to make sun shapes. But whatever you put in your sky, you're going to need to make sure. Now, here's sky down here too in this space. Don't forget that space. And this one too. And don't forget that whatever you draw on this paper, you need to color. So if you make your patterns too small, let's say you make a pattern that is this teeny, that's pretty hard to color. So make sure your patterns are nice and big so that you have something to color in. Nice and big patterns. Now, this is called pop art when it looks all crazy like this and there's lots of patterns. So, your job is going to be now to color this. So, you can choose to color this with oil pastels or markers or crayons or whatever you have in your house, you can choose to color this with. And I'm simply going to start with markers just because I feel like that's a little bit quicker for this video. But I think that oil pastels and colored pencils are actually a much better choice for this project. So I will start to color, and when I'm using a marker, remember I'm using it on the side, and I am not going back and forth. I am making lines right next to each other with no underwear. So every one of these stripes has to be the same. So anywhere that I am doing a pattern, the pattern needs to be the same color. So you cannot do this pattern like in a rainbow because then it does not repeat. See, this repeats. Okay, so you would pick a different color to do your polka dots. Okay. Right inside the line, staying inside the line, good craftsmanship. And then when you're all finished with all of those patterns, then you're going to want to make sure that you do the background of that pattern as well. And because this is grass, I don't have a lot of colors of markers here. And so I would like to do this one in green, but then I have to figure out something to do to the bottom here because that one's green too. So I have a light green and I have a dark green, and that will show us some separation between the two, the middle ground and the background. So I'm going to start this one just like I taught you with the marker right around here. No underwear. Right, look how carefully, and if you need to go to the tip of your marker to get into those corners, you can do that. All right, make sure that you're using the marker correctly if you're choosing marker. There's a lot less chance of making it look bad if you use oil pastels especially. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it at that because you're going to color the rest. This background will be completely colored with this color then, so I can tell the difference between the foreground and the middle ground. And then your sky would also be totally colored. Now, if I had oil pastels, I could use different color blues for my sky, and so I'm probably going to try that. So these oil pastels, I could do a darker color blue for the polka dots. All right. And then I could do a lighter blue for the rest of the sky. Now remember, we're going to color this sky all the same direction, good craftsmanship, no underwear. And I'm touching all of these things, and I need to come down here because this is sky too, and this is sky all the way to my horizon line. Here is sky. Okay, so everything needs a color, right? This whole paper should be filled with color when you are finished. All right, remember if I'm going too fast for you, then stop the video. But this is all that we're going to do for today. So have fun coloring. I would like you to take a picture of this, and if you're in second grade, upload it to Seesaw, and if you are in third grade, upload it to your Google Classroom. Thanks and have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.